Sure, we clicked the go live button. Am I looking at the wrong thing? Am I looking at the wrong stream?
This would be really embarrassing if we had the wrong
were
link.
live and we're just on the wrong link. So I'm going to YouTube just for all of you out there listening here on the channel, and I'm looking.
Now, I just have to say here, you can't see this because you're the internet, and you're not seeing the back. You're only seeing the back of his screen. But his YouTube recommendations are completely different from mine.
I wonder why. Why would that be the case?
Yeah.
I wonder. And it's probably completely different from yours as well.
Well, here's the funny thing. My wife uses the tablet that we have. We have like an Android tablet.
Yeah.
So she actually watches her kind of videos on my account because I'm the one who owns the tablet, right?
Fair enough.
And then the algorithm sees what she's doing all day.
And it changes
says,
everything.
Oh, that's my recommendation, right? So it's like I get like all kinds of celebrity news and all kinds of things that.
Okay, it looks like we are live now.
All right.
Oh my God.
For real.
So either that or maybe the link was wrong, so I apologize. Okay, we're connected. We're live. Today we're talking about Proof of Keys. You got myself, Paul Pway, CEO and co-founder, and you got William over here who does all the stuff underneath the covers, but it still comes up for air to show his face and talk about what we've got going on.
Really, I hope that we have a good conversation today because today is a very special day.
Very special day. What makes today so special?
Proof of Keys Day.
Proof of Keys Day. We got to credit a couple people for Proof of Keys Day, but who's the number one person we got to credit?
Who?
I'd say Satoshi.
Oh.
By far.
I was thinking like, who originated the meme of Proof of Keys?
The meme of Proof of Keys.
Like, I don't know.
So the meme of Proof of Keys, we have to give thanks to Trace Mayer for that one. You know, taking the day when Bitcoin was born and effectively, coming up with a hashtag for it and rallying in a rally cry around the world for people to hold their own keys, right? Which is kind of the entire point of it. But originally, what's the kind of history behind January 3rd?
Wasn't this the day that the thing launched?
Exactly. Bitcoin launched. It was the Genesis block. And in that Genesis block, for those that aren't familiar, were the words, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout.
Well, this was actually kind of an interesting time because...
It's a little crooked, but go ahead, keep going.
Well, I mean, everybody remembers the 2008 financial crisis.
Exactly.
And then Bitcoin comes out a year later. So we were
impeccable timing.
We were kind of reeling from the shock of that whole thing.
Yep.
And of course, nobody knew what Bitcoin was. I didn't hear about it till years later, but it's still kind of...
I sure wish I'd heard about it then. I was surrounded by gold bugs in 2007, 2008. Just they kind of disappeared from my life by 2009. And I think they probably would have told me about it.
I was surrounded by gold bugs too, but they all kind of like Bitcoin, whatever. Yeah. It's fake money, right?
Exactly. Like, what's the point of this? It's not real. It's not physical. I can't touch it. It's just another one of those digital things like PayPal. I think that's what a lot of people thought.
Yeah.
But obviously, we had something very, very different on January 3rd,
because
2009.
Bitcoin has a unique property. You can prove your own money's ownership via keys.
Exactly. Hence
which is what we're here to talk about.
So, hashtag Proof of Keys. This is an effort and a rally cry for people to fundamentally hold their own funds, which is the entire benefit of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin to begin with. Like digital money, that's not the innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Bitcoin is just the successor, if you just look at it as money that moves from one place to another place electronically, of credit cards.
Yeah, it would be a successor to credit cards, successor to PayPal, successor to wire transfers, for Christ's sake. That's not that interesting.
Wire transfers are like freaking old.
They're not just old, but they're a pain in the ass. I actually have to go do a wire transfer later today, but they're a royal pain in the butt. Point being is what really makes Bitcoin different is that not only can it be transferred digitally, it can be held in a self-custody manner in the sense that you hold your own funds. You don't need a counterparty. And it's the very first time in history we've ever had any digital value that you can hold without a counterparty.
Right, because if you have gold bars, you can put those under your mattress and it's your money and it doesn't depend on anything else. It doesn't depend on government say so. It doesn't depend on, Gold's pretty much going to carry its value. It has carried its value historically for thousands of years, millennia, right?
Right.
Like ancient Romans were carrying around gold coins. So it still has value today. Maybe it'll go up and down by some fraction, but whatever. That you can hold your own money. It's yours and no one has any say so. They can't take it away from you other than by force.
Exactly.
Bitcoin has that property while still being electronic.
Right.
So if you have the number, the secret key is just a number that controls the coins in your wallet, then you and only you can move those funds. If you give that number to someone else, then they can move the funds. So you don't want to lose your key in the sense you forget it. If you forget what that number is, you're never going to get the money back out.
Yep.
And you don't want to let anybody else learn about it, because if they get it, they can take the money out too. So it's this trick of basically keeping a number secret and safe that secures your value.
Exactly. And that's what obviously many different companies are trying to do. It's what Edge tries to do. Many hardware wallets are trying to do. And the challenge is that we've never had to secure digital data that equaled money. This is the first time that any aspect of digital data not just had value. Digital data has had value before, your secret documents,
Obviously,
photos.
If somebody leaks, secret information that was like photos you didn't want people to see, that's a problem.
That's
but
a problem,
it's not like
it has value.
You lose your money and
and it's not like you lose your photo. So if someone leaks your photo, they get it and you get it. So it's a very different, value is very different than the property of money. And so Bitcoin being the first that actually has the property of money. So with today is the initiative for people to hold their own money. And so one of the things that was promoted by Trace Mayer on Proof of Keys Day is to take any money that you might have on custodial services, whether they be custodial exchanges or custodial wallets. And many people forget that exchanges aren't the only entities that hold your money.
Oh yeah, there's also wallets.
There are actually wallets that hold your money too. And so it's the thing you have to ask, like, who holds my keys? Do I have control of them? Does anyone else also have control of them? And if you're holding any funds on any custodial services, take them off.
Because if you have money on, say, Coinbase, for instance, just not to pick on Coinbase, but there's
hundreds of others.
Yeah.
Or Free Wallet. Let's pick on another one, Free Wallet, which has dozens of different wallets, one for each different currency, but they are fully custodial. They hold your money. So one of these companies, so go ahead.
So they actually are the one who know the secret number that controls your money, and they don't
Correct.
give you that number. So when you have money with them, you say, oh, I have 1 Bitcoin. Well, you don't actually have 1 Bitcoin.
Correct.
They have a Bitcoin.
Or you believe they do.
Well, hopefully, yes.
You hope that they have the Bitcoin.
And they promise, pretty please, to do whatever you tell them to do with that 1 Bitcoin. So
Right.
you're like, oh, Coinbase, please send my money to pay for this sock.
Got it. Yep.
We promised we will do that, but there's no guarantee they will. You're trusting them the same way you trust your bank or your PayPal or any other service. So the whole point of Bitcoin, the thing that makes it unique and special compared to all other digital currencies that have come before, is lost if you're using this kind of service.
Is the exact fundamental point of crypto. And so by taking any funds that are held there, even if it's temporary, just for Proof of Keys Day, and extracting them out onto keys that you already own, it does one very fundamental thing, is it actually tests the liquidity and honesty of these custodial services.
Oh, interesting, because if you have everybody take their money off of Coinbase just for 1 day and then put it back.
It's like a bank run for a day. And if you notice that you're not able to take it out, then that starts to bring up the question is it really there in the first place? So much like banks, many people think that, the bank, I've got $1,000 at a bank, that $1,000 is actually there. Well, it's not actually
because
there.
It was loaned out to buy somebody's house.
Exactly. And if everyone were to do a proof of dollars to the banking system, they'll realize very, very quickly, if enough people withdrew their money, that the money isn't actually there. And that's at the heart of Proof of Keys Days. It's let's put the custodial infrastructure to test and see whether they really have it. Now, granted, I doubt that we're going to get a large number of the funds withdrawn, but
Probably
we sure
not.
can try. We sure as hell can try, and we can advocate for it and let people know about this initiative and time everyone at the same time to, get your funds off of the exchanges. And we have seen people not on Proof of Keys Days, but on days where it is valuable for people to get their funds off exchanges.
Like fork day.
Exactly. On a hard fork day, those days where people are not able to get it out. And they effectively start to ask the question, well, is it really there? Or has it been loaned out? Or is it locked up in storage that may or may not be accessible? That becomes the big question. And it starts to bring up the question, not just do they have the money, but is crypto even usable? From these services. Say I just simply wanted to send my crypto and there's a lot of people that sent it out. That money just might not be usable. You mentioned hard fork. And ironically, there was a Litecoin hard fork. I don't think this hard fork really has any value at this point now, but it was, I think, Litecoin Cash. If anyone remembers Litecoin Cash. Anyone remember Litecoin Cash? RJ probably remembers this. I think I was at, RJ here is our director for the day. He's sitting over here making sure our stream's going well. And there was a gentleman at one of the conferences saying, oh my God, I heard that Litecoin is about to hard fork, but I need to get it onto my own keys to make sure I can claim it. and he had his keys on an exchange on Coinbase, and he couldn't get it out. It took 2 days to remove his funds. And so that was a point in time when people had a high desire to get their money out.
And it got congested, and
it got congested, and the liquid funds simply couldn't get extracted, so he basically missed his opportunity, wasn't able to get it out. So this goes along with the entire philosophy of, well, why bother holding your keys? It's not just for the ideological, sense of, heck, this is what crypto is made for, is what it's built for, but also sometimes just for your own sake.
Right. And the other thing too is we see this a lot. Governments are actually a pretty big risk when it comes to crypto, in the sense that their services will get shut down, right? The government will go in and say, do an investigation into the service, and they're like, okay, we're just going to freeze your bank account for a couple of days while we take a look at this, and then all of a sudden you can't access it. Who's the exchange that does Tether?
That is Bitfinex.
Bitfinex.
Correct. Bitfinex is similar, if not same owners as the Tether project, which is a stable coin on the Ethereum and Bitcoin blockchains.
Well, they had the situation happen where they got frozen, and it was the dollars that got frozen. It wasn't the crypto. I just want to be clear, right?
Correct.
And people had a hard time getting money out. So this thing can happen, right? And who's to say that something like Liberty Reserve doesn't get frozen and the crypto gets taken out of it as well?
Exactly. So these are all the same issues we've heard about over and over again. And a way to resolve is to make sure you hold your own funds. Now, granted, with stable coins, while you might hold your own keys, you're not still really holding your own funds if it is an asset-backed, at least a bank-based or gold-based asset-backed stable coin.
If you get a Tether, you have one Tether forever, right? No one can take that Tether away from you. But the Tether may not be worth $1 if they don't actually have the money in their bank, and everybody realizes that.
Exactly. So I'm going to pause one moment because we had a question come in on the stream about the different partners that Edge has for Americans in exchanging into and out of fiat. So Edge actually has 2 different partners for exchanging to and from fiat. The thing we wanted to cover today actually is, in the effort of proof of keys, since many people
if you're going to store your money on your wallet,
correct,
then it stands to reason you probably at some point need to convert to or from dollars.
Exactly.
And so you probably want to do that there's no non-custodial way to convert anything to dollars, because dollars themselves are custodial. So as soon as you say the word dollar, you're talking about custody.
You're talking about custody, but I think there's a difference between the ephemeral temporary custody and the more permanent, we'll hold your money until you tell us otherwise.
Exactly.
Type of custody.
Well, so you would probably trust your bank, your U.S. bank account, like at Capital One or Chase or Wells Fargo or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if those are trustworthy institutions, but everybody trusts them. So
enough people trust them. Many people hate them, and many people don't trust them, and many people have been screwed over by them. But enough people trust them, and just kind of like the average American.
So you want to get your money from your crypto wallet, which is trustless. You have your money, period, to your bank account, which you kind of trust, through some kind of intermediary, and they're going to be a crypto company, so you probably don't trust them too much.
Right.
But the good news is they don't hold on to your money for a long period of time. As long as they just take it on this process, they have it for a day or two and it's yours.
And it just flows through them. Think of them as a store. Like, you're not trusting a store to hold your shoes or to hold your money. You're trusting for that amount of time it takes to do an exchange.
By the time you take it off the shelf, walk it over to the cash register.
Exactly. In many ways, they're trusting you more than you're trusting them. And it's definitely true in the case of a cryptocurrency exchange when you're buying crypto. They are very much trusting you as a customer because they're sending you irreversible digital money.
Trustless
money. And instead they're taking this reversible junk money, which is the dollar, any other euro or other
because you can call your bank and say, I didn't authorize that transaction. They can take the dollars back, and now they've given you irreversible crypto, and they don't have. So there's always that risk.
Just about every digital payment method that has a third party is reversible. And so it is, a lot of trust being placed on the customer when an exchange offers a service. So to answer this question from John from New Jersey, our partner is Wyre, so WYRE for people in the U.S. You mentioned Americans. I'm assuming by Americans you mean people in the United States as opposed to Latin America, South America, Central America.
Canadians.
So Canadians who are North American still. But yeah, so for buying and selling using a bank account, specifically an ACH transfer from your bank account, our partner is Wyre. They support buying and selling. You can buy about $2,500 worth of Bitcoin or Ether or DAI per week, and you can sell a pretty much unlimited amount.
So there's that asymmetry because they're
There is
trusting more on the buy side than on the
Exactly.
sell side.
And it makes sense. That's totally fair for them to do, is that, they want to make sure that you are reputable, limit their exposure. And so $2,500 you can buy per week, but an unlimited, because unlimited on sell, because they're not really having to trust the customer with sending them crypto, because once they receive it, they get a confirmation, they know it's theirs. It's irreversible, and they're happy to convert that into dollars into the bank account. So you're trusting them a bit more on the sell side, and hence why they've got higher limits. But they have been a trustworthy company from the viewpoint of they haven't taken anyone's money, and they don't hold anyone's money in that process.
Well, I will say they don't take people's money, but we do get support calls every now and again. And it's just the normal stuff, problems getting verified and stuff.
Yep.
But so far, we have never had any actual trouble with them.
Yeah, like no money's been taken, lost, disappeared.
So if you have any problems, we
Let
have,
us know.
our support people will take care of it. So
Yep. So you'd ask what are the different companies? So we do have one company, which is Wire. The other company is Simplex, and this is if you want to purchase with a credit card. So with a credit card, you can get crypto much faster, and there's no verification process. You do have to submit personal information, photo of an ID, address, address verification, email verification, and whatnot. But you can effectively buy Bitcoin, Ether, and a handful of other cryptocurrencies, Stellar, XRP, whatnot, almost
like within an
instantly,
hour.
Within an hour.
Within an hour or two.
Within an hour. There are some occasions where some red flags might get hit in the process of submitting your information, but by and large, most of the users are able to get crypto very quickly. Credit cards, though, as many people know, just like for stores, do come at a higher cost. Credit cards charge much higher fees than a basic bank transfer. So you will pay for that speed of delivery and the convenience of being able to use a credit card. So there's trade-offs there, and we provide both options so that people can choose what trade-offs are more important to them.
Well, not recently, like a year ago, I had to buy something with crypto. And I didn't have to buy it with crypto. I suppose they would have accepted a credit card as well. But anyway.
Just buy it, yeah.
Yeah. Long story short, I ended up visiting an ATM. Downtown in San Diego, there are crypto ATMs, random places. So I went in, stuck in my $20 bill, scanned my barcode, and it gave me a whole whopping $15 of crypto.
25% fee. Ooh, ouch. Ouch.
Yeah, it was not good. So, being able to use Simplex now is like, yeah, sure. It's a little bit.
It's still expensive.
It's more
but
expensive
probably
than
not
Wire, but it's not that expensive. That's for
right.
sure.
So to give you an idea of the fees charged by these services, Wire charges about depending on volatility, upwards of 2% total, including what we would take for the exchange transaction. That's for both buy and sell. Simplex charges what we see between 6 to 7%. Still better than what you'd see at an ATM, which is usually in the 8 to 15% range.
Oh, were you forgetting Liberty X?
Oh, hey, thanks for reminding me. Yes, Liberty X, for those that want to actually purchase in the US with cash or with a physical debit card, meaning using your debit card not digitally online, but walking up to an actual machine and using your debit card. We do have a third provider, which is Liberty X. So you can go into the app, choose cash or debit card if you're in the US. You'll enter Liberty X, you'll enter your address or your zip code, and it will show you a bunch of different locations you can go within a few mile radius from yourself. And many of those are either physical merchants that will accept cash.
Like cell phone repair shops.
Exactly.
Bodegas.
Kiosks, shops and whatnot. Yeah. And then you can give them either cash, or if it's an ATM, you can put a debit card into the ATM, and effectively it will send crypto directly into your Edge account. So yes, thanks for reminding me. We did have that third. So Liberty X.
So I've never done that before, but it sounds pretty weird walking into like a cigarette shop, right? Handing him a $20 bill, walking out, didn't take any merchandise, and then crypto shows up in your phone.
Exactly. You start it all from within Edge, and you never have to scan a public address and whatnot. You effectively create the order that you want, and it then gives you a redemption code. So when you walk into the merchant, you give them that code along with the $20, or I think the limits are like $300, until you do further verification, $200 to $300, and then Bitcoin just shows up right inside of the app.
So how does that work? Is the merchant, the cigarette store or the liquor store or whatever, are they thinking that you're doing like a bill pay or something? Or?
No, they're actually on the Liberty X network.
So they actually know that they're part of Liberty X?
Yep, exactly. So originally when Liberty X had launched, they were piggybacking on payment networks for things like cell phones. That's right, cash payment for cell phones. And it was just the generic.
So it's like go in and pay your cell phone bill. Well, we'll take that and pretend that we're a cell phone provider, even though we're selling.
Well, really, it's just go in and pay a bill.
Yeah.
So this is for the cash-based community that really relies on paying anything with cash. And all that the service does that's sitting on their cash register is saying, I've received $50. Well, send $50 minus the fees to this redemption code. And that redemption code might go to a cell phone company, it might go to an electricity company, it might go to literally airline tickets, and in the case of LibertyX, it's going to a company that's facilitating the purchase of Bitcoin.
Nice.
Right. So it's fairly generic in that sense, although LibertyX has rolled out a more crypto-specific interface to merchants that specifically are looking to support cryptocurrency. So they're not trying to hide it behind a different
generic
interface.
bill pay.
Yeah, exactly. So this one's they find that they get better support and better reception from the merchant, because the merchant doesn't respond with what's Bitcoin, right? They know that they're servicing a customer, and many of them actually start to gain an interest in crypto from that, or they might already have an interest from that, and maybe even they start accepting crypto at the stores.
Oh, nice.
So it is a great option if you don't want to deal with or don't have the capacity to deal with a digital payment, meaning logging into a bank, or if you don't have a credit card, or if you just want it really quick. It's easily the fastest way if you're close to one of these merchants to get crypto. It can be, if you're literally standing there, it'll take a minute or two.
So the thing they all have in
trade-off.
common is
You hold
money goes straight into your wallet, your keys.
Exactly. So
Or
all of the
from
methods,
your wallet.
all of these methods are non-custodial. They're just temporary money flowing through a counterparty, but they're just like a store, right? Just going to a store and buying some crypto. Some are digital online stores and some are physical, right here, stores available for you physically. And so second question from John is, can you cash out with Simplex, meaning pay to your credit card?
Not yet.
Not yet. Interesting you asked that, John. Actually, you can if you happen to be in Europe. So European cardholders with a Visa card can sell Bitcoin directly into their credit card inside of Edge, but it hasn't been rolled out for the US yet. But it will definitely, stay tuned. Once it is rolled out, we'd be happy to let people know and let people use it, because it's actually a great option for people that want to be able to use the benefits they have from their pre-existing credit cards, not want to hold an additional card, but be able to spend the crypto that they have on obviously a bunch of different merchants around the world.
Well, does this create a strange situation where I take my credit card, I go buy a bunch of stuff, I put money back onto the credit card, and then I keep buying, and I don't even need a bank account?
In a way, you don't. I mean, typically a credit card is backed by a bank, but some aren't, and you don't necessarily have a bank account. But you're absolutely right. You can effectively be paying off your credit card.
Because I have a PayPal credit card that's not attached to a bank, right?
Right. Exactly. You can effectively be paying the credit card or topping up the credit card, depending on how you see it, right? With crypto, effectively eliminating the need for a bank with respect to just paying off the card. Now, of course, if there's other services like rent and whatnot that you can't pay with a credit card, then you'll have to seek other options.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that if Simplex gets it rolled out to this country.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it as well. So hopefully so. And if anyone out there is using the sell to credit card functionality of Simplex inside of Edge in Europe, please send us some feedback. Let us know what you think. And if you didn't know that it was you weren't aware that that was available, give it a try and then let us know what you think.
The Europeans have so many better options than we do anyway.
They do. And it's funny, we say that because here we are, the land of the free, the United States and whatnot, but there's a price of, in a way, decentralization. I've mentioned this a few times. Decentralization comes at a cost, and the U.S. as a country is in many ways more decentralized than other countries in the world. And that the cost of that is different regulations
in
different states. So the states are how we are more decentralized, because we can do things in one state, you can't do in another, and the federal entity of the U.S. just simply says that's not something we're going to bother touching. Right, we're just going to say we'll leave it to the states to determine whether or not gambling is legal.
Yeah, go right across the border to Nevada.
Border to Nevada, and so you're in Vegas, and
Las
gambling
Vegas,
is legal.
yeah.
There you go, exactly.
But here, nope.
Here, California, nope, no can do.
But you go across the Indian reservation border into the native,
which is not far from here.
Yeah, which is technically it's kind of own country within a country.
Exactly.
And now gambling's legal again.
Exactly. So this is part of that dream of decentralization where you have different entities that do what they want to do. But the pain is, if you want to offer a service in the entire country, you now have to get licenses in
all
each
these
of the states, or each of the states that say that they require a license. And so being able to roll out this feature in the US of sell to credit card will potentially require a lot of different licenses, more costs, more legal fees. And so we end up having a much stricter and harder infrastructure to deal with as a cryptocurrency company, especially one doing exchange conversion, than those that are in Europe, where one license gets you in multiple countries. It's like the complete inverse of what we have in the US. You just do the European Union license, and then you're covered in 30 plus countries. So, well, freedom comes at a cost, so you give some.
Hey, at least we got Wire, right?
At least we got Wire. They do cover most of the states, but actually at this point, not all of the states yet. So we're still not covered in New York, which obviously is a huge financial capital of our world. So we hope to have that added. And thanks for asking the question, John, from New Jersey. And we'll hopefully have a better update for you in the weeks to come.
Questions?
No other questions.
But
John,
we've had a question all week.
Big question of the week, yes.
Some kind of airdrop, I've heard?
Yes, so Bancor airdrop. So Bancor just recently had an airdrop giving people another token if you hold the Bancor token.
So if you hold the Bancor token on January 1st on your own keys.
In your own keys. If you held them in an exchange, you don't quite know. It's kind of like a hard fork.
Yeah.
If the exchange chooses to give you the value that they get from the airdrop from the keys that they held on your behalf, then you get it. But if they choose not to,
we're just going to keep that for ourselves.
Or just keep it for ourselves, or just simply ignore it. If they think it doesn't have any value, they just ignore it. Then you don't get it. So great timing. Bancor airdrop, which actually happened on January 1st, just 2 days prior to proof of keys. So motivates you to hold your own keys. And this could kind of happen at any point in time.
So if you had Bancor in Edge, BNT, then I think you would wake up on January 2nd with BNT ETH or something like that?
So not January 2nd, it's going to be within 10 days of the lock.
So they're still working on it.
Correct me? Fact check, my fact checker over here, RJ. 10 days. So within 10 days, but the snapshot occurred on January 1st. So you have to have had BNT tokens on your address and private key on January 1st. I think it was midnight GMT. So midnight GMT, and however many Bancor tokens you had, take 10% of that, and that's how many ETH BNT tokens that you will receive onto that address. Now, ETH BNT are different tokens than Bancor tokens. To do a quick rewind, Bancor is a smart contract project on the Ethereum blockchain.
Like some kind of decentralized exchange?
It's a decentralized exchange, but it's not an order matching exchange. It's one such that people deposit liquidity assets, and then the Bancor network generates tokens, and at a certain price. It determines a price based on its own formula of supply and demand. How many people want to buy it, how many people want to sell it. It sets its own price based on that. And it backs it by a handful of different assets, such as Ether, that it deems as a backing asset. Well, they had one of the biggest ICOs in 2017, raised like $250 million. Not to kind of poke at them, but their market cap's at about 15 million right now. Of all of the BNT tokens. But things have dropped, but definitely that one hurts. But the company obviously is alive and kicking. They were smart with their funds. They did have a hack that lost some of their company funds, but they continue to operate. And the interesting thing about the ETH BNT token that you'll receive if you had some is that it will give you a revenue share of the fees that are charged when people do these exchange transactions on the Bancor network.
So if you use the Bancor DEX, then you pay a little fee, and that fee gets split out amongst all the holders of ETH
BNT
for at least for ETH transactions.
Correct. So that's ETH BNT is the
So not only are they paying you once January 1st, sometime in the next 10 days,
yes,
but again on an ongoing basis.
Exactly. What they're effectively giving you is kind of like a share. They're giving you a share of the revenue of it's units of shares is the ETH BNT. What that gives you is a dividend, right? And that dividend is the revenue share from people doing transactions.
So if you're an Edge user and you've got BNT, you've got a balance, and you think, I'd like to cash in on this, what do you need to do? What are the steps?
So steps to do it right now, ETH BNT is not natively supported in Edge, but you can add it. You can add any custom token to Edge, even if Edge itself doesn't support it. So you'll need to look up the contract address for ETH BNT. You can do that easily on Etherscan, and you'll want to also look up the number of decimals of ETH BNT. Can you do a quick check? Do we know how many decimals ETH BNT is? 18 decimals, same as Ether. And then the token code, which is just ETH BNT. Those are the three things you need. You go into Edge, tap on the Ethereum wallet that the three dots to the right of the Ethereum wallet that has your BNT tokens. Click Add or Edit Tokens. That brings you to a new screen. you can click another button, add a custom token, and add those 3 pieces of information. ETHBNT is the token code. You can call, and then you can give it a name such as Bancor ETHBNT. Number of decimals, that's 18, and then the contract address, which you can find on Etherscan. And save that. Once you exit out, it's going to start querying your balance, and you should see the balance of ETHBNT within 10 days of the first, by January 10th, I presume.
Hopefully.
So
yeah.
hopefully. So exactly. And so once again, you wouldn't have had any of this if you didn't hold your keys. Other airdrops could happen in the future. There are airdrops also happening on the EOS network. And so, yes, thanks for the reminder. So the EOS network, Bancor is on the EOS network as well. Same thing applies. You have to hold your own keys. On EOS, unfortunately, we currently don't support any tokens on EOS. You'll have to use another tool such as Scatter. You can take your keys off of Edge and export them and put them right into Scatter, and you'll see the other tokens that you receive, including, unfortunately, a ton of garbage tokens that are just airdropped on people. But it's something available to you for sure. So for those that have been listening, we got our word of the day. We haven't mentioned it yet. William, you want to take it off? In the spirit of proof of keys, the word of the day for $20 of Bitcoin is...
Skeleton.
Skeleton, yes. So just like skeleton key, although apparently by the dictionary, it's actually a synonym for key. You can use the word skeleton to refer to key. So skeleton, look for one. So to win, you must have retweeted one of the Edge tweets mentioning the word of the day for this week. You then have to respond to that tweet with the word of the day and include a screenshot of your Edge Bitcoin QR code so that we know where to actually send the $20 of Bitcoin. All right? Because we got to send you some money. What better way to do it than with Bitcoin on Proof of Keys Day? So skeleton is the key word of the day. So thanks for tuning in. I think we're mostly out of time. We usually like to finish off with different events going on in the crypto world that we'll be attending. We'll be at TNABC in Miami, the North American Bitcoin Conference. That's happening not this week, not next week, January 15 and 16. 15, 16, it's Thursday, Friday, and we'll also be right before that at the Tampa Bay Bitcoin meetup, blockchain meetup over at Block Spaces. And that's going to be on the 14th of January. It's Tuesday, January 14th. And we'll be looking forward to seeing everyone over there. And actually next week, we've got an event here locally in San Diego. You know, we didn't have the meetup in Bitcoin community, didn't have kind of our typical holiday party in December that a lot of communities have, so we postponed it to January. So we're having a New Year kickoff party, a 2020 kickoff party. We've got representatives from Casper Labs, from XYO, Crypto Capital, and just other people in the community. I think we might have 2 or 3 spots left. So if you happen to be here in San Diego, or if you're coming to visit, head over to Bitcoin San Diego. Look for Bitcoin San Diego on meetup.com. You'll find there's a link to register on Eventbrite for the party. It's a once a year party we'd like to keep the tradition of. Edge is co-hosting with the Bitcoin meetup, and we'll have a great time. Free food, cocktails, games over at Punch Bowl Social here in downtown San Diego. So hope to see people there.
All right.
Cool. All right. And what we say every Friday matters so much, a little bit more today for sure. So much more today. So
one might say our catchphrase is rather apropos.
Yep.
You want your keys, not your coins.
All right. See you guys.